Yo guys, what's up? So today we're going to be talking about Lost Ark. So we're going to be going over part 3 of our Express Mokoko challenge. But before that, I just wanted to let you guys know, thank you guys so much, so much for all the love and support. I greatly appreciate it. It seems like this series has really helped a lot of people either come back to the game or try the game for the first time. So, you know, I'm more than happy that this is able to help you guys, and thank you guys so much for the love and support. Again, I greatly appreciate it. I am in the middle of moving, and so I'm trying to get this out to you guys, but it's probably going to be less of an edit. I was able to get to 1660 on one of my streams the other night, and so this is just kind of a chopped up version of that. Hopefully it's able to help and get you guys access to that 1660 fight sooner rather than later. Okay guys, so we have finally reached 1660, and so we're going to be doing the Aegir challenge mission that comes along with the Express Mokoko challenge. Now from this we will actually get our 4 level 7 brilliant gems, which is going to be great. Having level 7 gems is going to be good. And then later on down the line, we'll have to do some gear crafting, gear transferring, and then we'll be able to get the gold. But this will allow us to make 2 additional pieces of our Aegir set, which is going to be amazing. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. Like normal, I'll put this at the end of the video, so feel free to skip ahead to that, or, you know, stick around and check out what comes after. So if you actually try hitting this go button, what it actually does is brings open the actual, like, you know, raid to do with other players. So you can switch this to solo mode if you want to, just like this. But I'm actually going to go ahead and run this with other people, and then I'll go ahead and do commentary as we go. Okay, so now that we have completed our Aegir raid at 1660, we can go ahead and claim this reward and get our level 7 gems, which will be very nice. You do get more than that, by the way, because you do get the box, so keep in mind that as well. You can access another 20k gold, as well as the next chest to help you towards 1680 and stuff above this as well. A legendary selector pack, which is always good, weapon quality taps, etc. A lot of really good stuff in here. Very nice. We will happily take all of that. I know my inventory is a little bit of a mess. Sorry, guys. Don't worry about it too much. You do get your first clear box from Aegir, so do make sure you buy that, or you have that as well, and you open that. And then you'll see here we got our 1660 honing supply chest. So this is a chest that's meant to help you get towards 1670 now. And I believe what we'll see is, yep, we have this 1670 chest as well, and that will give us a 1680 chest. So as you keep moving forward and forward, you will be getting more and more stuff, including gold, as you see at 1670 here. So we're gonna go ahead and open this chest. Perfect. So what I'm going to do before we do anything else is I'm actually going to get these level 7 gems situated. Now, personally, what I would recommend doing for everyone who has gotten this far basically is figure out what your 7 best damage abilities are and put these gems on those abilities. Okay, so now that I've got those gems figured out, the next thing I'm going to do is start doing the side missions. So try crafting gear. What we need to do is we need to start making our Aegir pieces of gear. And the reason why this is very important is because as you get more Aegir gear, you will end up getting more points to unlock your evolution tree. And those nodes are very powerful, and so you do want to get them sooner rather than later for sure. So here you can see we can craft any one of these pieces because we have 40 pieces here. I'm going to go ahead and start with gloves. It doesn't really matter. And as you probably saw, we're going to be able to craft several more anyway, so it's going to be okay. So we've crafted a piece of gear here. We can get 30 more. We can craft another one. And then we also need to do gear transfer. But because we'll just go ahead and do the gear transfer first. So we'll go back to the honer. And then we're going to be crafting more gear, right? Because we just got 30 and another 30 shards. We can craft 2 more pieces of gear, which will be pretty great. So we go ahead and equip this new piece of gear that we have crafted here. And then you're going to go to gear transfer, click on those, and replace the gear that you had before. Just like that. Now, just to make sure you don't get confused, go ahead and dismantle that piece of gear that we had as well. And then we can go over here and collect the reward to get our last 30 shards there. And then also, now that we've finished this entire event, we can get our last 20k gold. So that is effectively completing the challenge express. Now, as I mentioned, you do get access to this 1670 achievement reward chest, and then that will give you a 1680. Basically what these are is just a slight amount of mats and gold and stuff like that, like I said, to help boost you to 10 next item levels. So right now we're going to work towards that, and then it'll help us move towards 1680, and then the 1680 box will help push us even further. I believe at 1680 it also gives you very decent ancient accessories and other items that you will definitely want and need, so make sure you pay attention to that. But for now, we're going to go back to the Kazaros gear vendor, and we're going to craft 2 more pieces of gear. So in my case, I'm going to do the shoulder piece, and then I'm going to do the chest. That's just my preferred order. It doesn't really matter. Make sure you do claim it though, because if you forget to claim it, it won't actually go into your inventory. So we're gonna equip both of those pieces of gear, and then we're gonna go back and gear transfer those again, just like we did for the gloves already. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start with the shoulders. We'll boom. And then chest. Notice how our quality is again preserved. We didn't actually get any quality taps, but if you had gotten lucky, you would have preserved that quality tap. So definitely make sure you dismantle those so you don't get confused. And now you'll see that this little arc passive button has shown up. And so if you look at this now, you'll see that we have 17 additional evolution points that we can use. What that means is we can actually get the second node on this bottom section here, and then we can go ahead and save it. Now, usually that's pretty important because this is like the majority of your damage. You'll end up getting 1 more node by crafting these last 2 pieces of Aegir gear over time, but that's going to be in the second row here, and it won't be as impactful as the bottom row especially. So getting that second point in that bottom row is really important for your damage. So make sure you definitely do that. Okay, so at this point we are 1660. We are plus 14 across the board. Now, I want to teach you guys something that's going to be kind of important for later on down the line, and somewhat important for right now as well. And what that is looking at how you're going to hone. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the notes on, or the description of this video, so you guys can see. But what I'm going to do is I'm essentially just going to show you how to see how expensive it is to hone. So if you click on the link that I'm going to put in the description down below, you'll be able to see exactly how expensive it is. And so if I want to say, okay, I want to get to 1670 next, which is going to be 2 taps on each piece of gear, this is what the cost is going to be. And so lots of things you could do from this point, but I like to just take a very quick screenshot, and then we're going to compare that cost to the cost of advanced honing. So if we go on to here and we say advanced honing tier 4, so 2 taps is 10 levels on everything. And so what we need to say is like, okay, if we're going to do 2 taps on everything, this is the actual cost. So I'll show you guys. You guys can just kind of see for yourselves here on what the difference is going to be. There we go. So raw gold, it's 225 here, 279 here. Destiny shards gonna be a lot less than 1 million, and then 22 Areha, so slightly more Areha, 14,000 redstones versus the 50,000 redstones, 59,000 bluestones versus the 150, and 1800 leaps versus the 3,400 leaps. So basically what this means is at this point I should be working on advanced honing 1 to 10 instead of just raw tapping plus 15 and 16. Overall, that will end up being a lot cheaper for me. Now, you might have to take some time, and depending on how long it took you to get here, you might not have the materials you need to unlock it. And that's 90 of these Aegir scales, and you get these from Echidna. Now, if you've been doing Echidna hard mode, you'll get the eyes here, and you can convert the eyes to be the cheaper normal materials for, I think it's usually like a couple to 1 or something. So just take a look at that. And so basically that just kind of ensures that I now know that I want to do advanced honing. Now that we've gone back to our vendor here, we can go and we can see if I go to the honing vendor and we go to advanced honing, this is where you can kind of see the cost of things. So I currently have 103 of these eyes. If I were to use them, you would see I only need one to get to the number there, but that's because I currently have 10. And so I'm gonna go ahead and just show you really quick what that's going to look like. So let's go ahead and use one and we'll temper. It's going to cost a bunch of shards, which likely is where you're going to get locked, especially as a new player who's trying to quickly hone. But again, it depends on how long it took you to get here in terms of gold and stuff like that. I definitely rushed, and so shards will end up being an issue for me, perhaps more than the rest of you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and hit temper here, and that's going to unlock our advanced honing menu. And then from here, you pretty much just hone like normal. But what will end up happening is for every tap that you do, you'll work towards this Ancestor's Grace. And on the final tap where everything is full, you'll actually see that you get a pretty significant buff. But it also depends. You might not get a big buff, but you might. So let's go ahead and see. So I'll show you guys with my weapon that I'm going to advance hone. So again, we're just going to normal tap. We do get a lot of scrolls, but save these scrolls and any juice mats you have, juice mats being these lava breaths here, for that big buff on that full Ancestor's Grace. So unless you have a lot of them, if you have a lot of them, you can use them much earlier, but it's kind of up to you. Okay, so at this point we are full Ancestor's Grace, which means the next tap that we do is going to have some kind of special effect. Now, if you look at it, you can actually see what the special effects are. 15% chance to get increased by 5 times, 35% chance to get increased by 3 times, and then there's the other two. The last one is not the one that you want. The chisel is the worst feeling in the world, but we're going to go ahead and juice this and go and hope it's the not chisel. All right, well, we got the chisel, and hopefully you could see that it's very, very small amount of XP is exactly why I said hopefully it's not the chisel. Unfortunately, the reality situation is I get the chisel a lot. Hopefully you guys are more lucky than me. And again, we'll just keep honing by doing this, filling that Ancestor's Grace night. We love to see the great success ×2. Okay, so we're pushing again. Again, we're gonna full juice because we got the Ancestor's Grace, and we're gonna hope for not chisel. Fingers crossed. Great success, 3 times XP. I can live with that. It would have been better to have, of course, the great success ×2 and then be ×3, but it's not a chisel, so at the end of the day, that's a win for us. Great success ×2, you'd love to see it. And basically the thing about this system is that it doesn't have the same issues as regular honing, so it doesn't have the big pities. And what that basically means is that on average, you're gonna be more similar to someone else who got lucky, even if you didn't get lucky. So it is better to do with this system, but it also can be not as exciting, if I'm being honest. Because you don't get the big feeling of the one taps or anything like that. You're just slowly working towards it, which is good and does allow you to just calculate the amount of materials that you need more effectively and stuff like that too. You can generally just get a feel for it. Again, we're full juicing on the Ancestor's Grace, and we got the chisel. Of course we did, because that is how it goes. And that is the rest of our shards. As I said, it's going to be the thing that is definitely going to take me some time to do, but our weapon is now a 1664, and we are on our way. Yeah, don't forget too that you did get some quality taps, so hopefully we hit lucky here. Okay, nice, we hit. It does look like those quality taps are actually for your roster, which I didn't realize when we were doing the quality taps on the weapon, but that's actually okay. I'm not too worried about it. But just maybe keep that in my mind and maybe check it out by the time you get here in case that's maybe a bug or something. I'm not really sure, but maybe it's not, and maybe it's intended. That would be really cool. So if you're like me and you're having issues with shards in particular, something that's definitely going to take a while to get. I would definitely consider working on your other systems that we kind of ignored from before, including your Transcendence. So this will help give you a lot of power, and also it will help you get a lot more combat power to make sure you get into those groups even easier. And again, ideally we want to make sure that we get the 20 flowers at least on every single piece, just to make sure that we can have the maximum effect. If you guys made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, feel free to comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Peace out, guys. It shouldn't be too bad to find someone to take us, because we do have the Mokoko status, which means people will be getting coins and basically free stuff for bringing us along. Come help Leaf. 1680s, let's do it. There we go. All right, so again, this should be pretty representative of what you guys are going to experience as a new or returning player. Having access to this Mokoko leaf is really going to make your life a lot easier when it comes to getting into some of these raids. So unfortunately, our group has mostly disbanded. We might see if we can find another lobby. All right, so we're already into another lobby here, nice and easy. And perfect, our lobby has actually filled up pretty quickly. We're going to go ahead and accept gold, so this is perfect. I want to get the maximum from this in terms of gold for this account, and then also just, the Mokoko tokens and stuff like that. So I do think it's worth it if you can do it in a group rather than just doing it solo. And to be honest, while this boss in this raid in particular isn't the most fun, it is really, really easy. So it's not really something that you have to be that worried about, if I'm being honest. So hopefully you'll be able to get a good feel from that while we're doing this. This is quite a long run, so maybe mount up and then run to the next area. So the hardest mech on any of this fight is actually is in hard mode on gate 1. It's a shape mech, and it has clock like positions. So if you struggle with clock positions and you're maybe someone who's only used the digital clock, it could be an issue. But for the most part, it's actually pretty simple, and even gate 1 and 2 on hard mode is pretty chill. This is normal mode, so we won't have to deal with that, but just be aware. Oh, a crazy looking solid right there. All right, so this character and this boss in particular is just someone you just want to be careful and mostly stand on the back, except for when you need to stand on the front. So like that, he'll hit the ground, you got to go to the front. But in general, the back is pretty safe on this guy. Then we have the first cutscene. Make sure you're not in the shadow that you see here on the left, and then he's going to teleport to somebody and try and knock them into a different realm. So make sure you don't get hit by that front attack. Just some stuff dropping from the sky and some additional ads. You don't really have to worry about that. Just kind of AoE them down. It's not really a big deal. This pattern is one that I always end up getting confused. Just try and dodge the last one with a space bar is usually my best plan. Stay out of this. He can charge to you and then do the knock up on top of that. You can go back in afterwards though and just continue DPSing. Here you can just stand straight behind. He's going to do the X pattern, and then he's going to combine both patterns, so you can just stand right behind him the entire time. So here, party 1 goes to the left of the boss, and party 2 that I'm in goes to the right. Now, somebody actually messed this up, and runs this over to the bottom at 6 o'clock instead of running it to the left for party 1. As you can see, people are pretty upset about it, but to be honest, it's really not a big deal, especially in normal mode. In hard mode, it definitely can be a big deal, but in normal mode, it's not too bad. If you do get chosen to be the party on the inside, you have to do some stagger on some ads inside. If you're outside, make sure you kill these mobs, because if you don't kill them, the people on the inside get ejected. And then you're going to do a team stagger up top now that everyone has come back. And we continue DPSing just like normal. Overall, pretty simple fight. It's really not that big of a deal. So again, we have this pattern again. This time he is putting it right behind him, so you can just offset yourself a little bit. If you do happen to see the little water orbs that pop up during the fight, that's actually different people's paradise orbs. The paradise orb will heal you, and also our support in party 1 just died, and that was a very strange occurrence. Make sure you're hiding behind that stuff so you don't also die. So he teleports to somebody, make sure you don't get hit by that. So this is going to be a double charge. You can try and spacebar. This is what I try to do and fail doing. But you can also just run out once that has been set on like where they're aiming. Again, if you just go back to the butt of the boss or the back of the boss, you should be pretty safe for a lot of the patterns. Alright, so this is, he'll have an actual shield, a little bit of damage reduction right now, and then into a shield right now. You want to make sure you get out of his AoE, it will stun you, and then after these guys run by, make sure you counter them, and then go back to damaging the boss. If you don't counter, they do a big AoE, and they will actually knock people out. And if you're in their line when they're charging, they'll actually grab you, and it is not good. So you want to definitely avoid that as much as you can. If you guys are familiar with Aeromancer, you're probably realizing that I'm not playing this 100% optimal. I'm definitely just kind of phoning it in. But also, I haven't really played a ton of Aeromancer just yet. So we have another cutscene. What you'll find is that these Gate 1 and 2 of Aegir are cutscene city. So you're going to be watching a lot of cutscenes on normal and hard version. We just stand in the free zone here. And then after this first one fills, we just go and spacebar into it. He's going to do a swing. And then an AoE on the ground. When he does this mech, don't look at him. It's a Medusa mech. He can teleport during that mech. But if you stand close enough to him and he doesn't teleport, then you won't get hit by the AoE effect afterwards either. If he does teleport, you can either quickly dash to him or just get ready to not get hit by that AoE. This is just like we just kill some mobs kind of thing and keep attacking him. Another Medusa, don't look at him. And we're standing close enough, so we're good. Don't get hit by the AoEs like I just did there. For these orbs, you just want to wait and then jump in them now. There we go. So he's at the 55 mech, so we're going to go ahead and run to the left here. You have lots of time, lots of time. We go down here and we just stand in the safe area while we DPS the hand or the arm. If your damage is low, it can be a little scary. And we G for the Just Guard. And then we go ahead and do our stagger check on the boss. Your sidereal leader will need to do Thar there usually to make sure that you get the stagger off. And we did, so this is a good time to Hyper Awakening. I like to Hyper here. And we keep DPSing the boss. And then we have another cutscene. And then wait for it to fill again, and we go in, and we're good. And then stand in the safe spot here, or, you know, don't. That works too. Save your spacebar, and then spacebar when this goes now. A little bit after the bar fills on the ground. And then we just kill the boss. Stand in the safe spot, and then continue to DPS. And we're good to go. And for reference, as I said, I'm not really playing that optimally, and then my combat score is actually pretty low because I haven't really done any of the other systems. So I'm only 620 combat score with only 99 flowers on my Transcendence. And just the base elixirs and accessories that the game gives you. So you should be able to hit better than this by the time you reach 1660. I definitely rushed here. You guys don't have to rush here. Especially if you're okay doing the solo Theamine for gold each week, I would highly recommend that you work on your side systems like Transcendence and stuff like that, because it's just going to make it so much easier for you to get in a group and also to do the damage that you need. But for reference, I was doing roughly double the minimum required damage for this raid. So the minimum requirement is like 20 mil DPS. It's pretty low. It's pretty low. People aren't going to like it if you do that much DPS, but usually as a Mokoko, no one's really going to care. These groups oftentimes have people doing more than enough DPS. We have one person doing 92 million, and he's supposed to be here, right? He's in the item level to be here, and he's doing, you know, more than 4 times the minimum damage. So it doesn't really matter if one person or even 2 or 3 people isn't really pulling their weight. Everyone else in this lobby is doing like, you know, 50, 70, 90 mil damage. So it's more than chill enough. Not every group is going to be like that, and some groups are closer to the actual, you know, DPS check, but it's usually not an issue. A good general rule of thumb that I like to have too is if I'm going to progress into a raid, let's say I want to go from Aegir normal to Aegir hard, and I want to see if I'm ready for it, I usually check that I can do a little bit more than the minimum damage threshold on the normal version of the raid. And that's just to get a general feel for, like, if I do less damage than I do right now, because I'm learning new patterns, or because it's a, you know, weird environment, or it's harder or something, will I be able to perform at a decent level? And I think that that's usually a pretty good spot to be in, especially if you're going to be running with some friends or something like that. But usually people won't be too worried about it as long as you're in the general ballpark. Okay, so for that butterfly mech, we just want to stand behind him. Ideally, you want to not get hit. If you do get hit by that, you do need to make sure that you position it in a way that's not going to mess up the team. That's a counter mech. If you get hit by that extending pole, it will then freeze you in place. You want to hit G for the Just Guard there. Anytime you see him glow gold like that, it means there's a Just Guard coming. And unfortunately, most of the Just Guards have different timings, so you do kind of just need to get used to it. So we're in party 2 at this first transition here. We're going to go bottom. If you're in party 1, you go top, and you meet up with your team. And then most people will rotate clockwise. So we go to the left after this. That's why you'll see our Sork up here is already going over there. He's just getting prepared to ignite and do big damage. So each side was broken, and now we get to fight the heart. Be careful of these lasers, they do really hurt. They hurt very, very badly, especially on hard mode, so be extra careful if you're doing hard mode. So this works out. We have to go over here to the left. You can do it, I believe, on the right as well, but everyone just goes over here to the left. And you just hide from these. Here, you can start hitting these early, but one of them will be a counter. So usually you want to figure out which one does the counter and then kill the other two. And then start working on the boss's shield. And get back to the wall here. Nice, I got the counter, or someone else got the counter there, perfect. You don't have to necessarily get every single one of them, but ideally you want to, because it does take away his armor stacks on the top here, making him take reduced damage. Alright, so we did kill the shield, now we transition again. He's gonna fly up into the air, don't use any special abilities. Just wait a second. Alright. So coming up is one thing that can kill you, not this mech, but you just find out where he grabs it from and you stand where it was. But there is a ground mechanic in this one that can kill you, so you should be careful of it. It's a bigger version of this one. It leaves big pools on the ground, and it can be a little bit scary. But you just want to make sure you don't stand in anything bad, you know. Like every MMO, standing in fire is never a good thing. We keep standing behind the boss here because he's going to do a big cone, and we're in the safe pizza spot. Damage reduction, so the wall is coming, and then you can DPS him. This is a counter when he flies up in the air like that, so we try and all position in a place where we can get it. Basically, you just want to try and group up with your friends. Someone might ping it, just run to the ping if they do. I just got grabbed, which is unfortunate. But again, see how none of these mechanics are really that deadly. For the most part, you should be fine. Especially with all the paradise orbs that are going to be, you know, used to heal. The arm mech, you actually want to spacebar through the arm mech before it closes. I just was being lazy, to be honest. Stand in the back here. Again, for that butterfly, if you do get hit, he does turn around like that, so be careful and be ready to run in case you see somebody get hit. This is a stagger mech. He will hit you up into the air if you get hit by these wheels. It is quite annoying. He's going to run that way. We got to wait a second, and then we can follow. There we go. And then another butterfly. Oh, I got hit that time. He's going to spin. That was my fault. My fault. And then we got another transition, and we gotta kill a shield again. Now, after we do the stagger, then we gotta kill his shield. There we go. So we just fight the boss. You can kind of sort of cleave on the heart in the middle if you want to, but it's not necessary. What people will do is they'll do a sidereal here. and that will mostly take care of the mech for you. When he again glows gold like that, you want to make sure you just guard just before he hits the ground with his staff. So try and get used to that timing. And we just keep DPSing his shield down. They'll trigger the sidereal soon on the second hit here. Boom, perfect. So you just try and keep him in that circle as much as you can. You can aim him at a wall, is always a good option. That skips this part here, which we already did previously, but again, it's just kind of a time waster, so that's the reason why we do that mech with the sidereal. He's gonna fly up in the air again, and we're gonna do that, you know, the scary phase potentially. It's pretty much the only mech in the in this boss, I think, that can kill you. Those big circles on the ground, bigger than those. It might not be in normal, if I'm being honest. I'm not 100% sure. Again, he grabs it over here, so we stand in the back. Nice and easy. Watch for that spreading. It's going to come to us. We got to go up here. And we skip the rest of that mech. Nice. So we're going to push him a little bit more. Just guard. There you go. This boss has several patterns which can be very, very irritating to play with. So just do your best, and honestly, if you find that you're underperforming when you're doing it the first time, that's completely normal. That's always normal in every raid, but especially this raid. He has a lot of really strange looking patterns, and if you're not familiar with the raid, it can be hard. So we do a sidereal here. If you don't sidereal correctly here, this is a special sidereal. If you don't sidereal correctly here, then you have to do a stagger check, which can be very hard because he has some mechs that root people in place. Most people don't see that very often, and so they don't know how to deal with it. So if you do find that you missed that sidereal, be extra careful and try and help your team out with big AoEs. Something like an Aeromancer is actually very, very useful in times like that. So what's going to happen now is the parts of this platform are going to start to chip away and fall down. And if you're currently standing on those pieces of the platform, you will die. So keep that in mind. But any time during this encounter where you see the correct buff, you can go ahead and Hyper Awaken. I'm going to go ahead and just throw it now, I think. This is a pretty good mech for it. And we stand behind and then go to his other side. If you just rotate like that whenever he does that just guard, you don't have to do the just guard, and you can continue damaging straight from the back every time. He does the same rotation every single time he does that, by the way. So if you're a back attacker, that's a really good mech to recognize, because it's like free back attack damage, right? And get out and then back in. If someone fails it, then he does do this part right here. Make sure you stand close. And then get in that pizza or spacebar like I did. He's just going to hit the front. And then stand directly behind him for this one. It's a small pizza. There you go. Be careful of that one. You can get knocked off by that spear. And we're all done. And that's just a basic kind of run of Aegir normal. So for reference, we had 3 people doing 30 mil DPS, 1 person doing 50, and 2 people doing 70. So that's your pretty normal group, I would say. Nothing too spectacular. Even the 70 mils are, they're good enough to go into like the minimum of hard mode, right? But not anyone juicing us to the moon, right? And like I said, sometimes you'll actually find 1680s that are going to be juicing the lobbies. So, I would recommend for new players, it's probably worth it to buy the chests. That way you can craft your gear quicker. from this particular raid, but that's pretty much it, guys.